Hello, I'm going to show you how to play my song Help Me. It's actually requested by someone that left a comment on one of my videos, and that's the first, so nice one. The song is made up of 4 chords and 3 different sections. I'll play the 3 different parts, then after that we can look at the different shapes with the left hand, and we can work our way through one section at a time, looking at the different right hand finger picking patterns. So let's look at the 4 chords, and we'll look at the left hand shapes to begin with. So the first chord is called a D6 chord. And so with our left hand, we're going to place our 3rd finger onto the 12th fret of our 4th string. So 3rd finger, 12th fret on the 4th string. Then next up we've got our 2nd finger, and that's going to be on our 3rd string on the 11th fret. So 3rd finger is on the 3rd string of the 11th fret. Then we've got our little finger, so 4th finger, that's going to be on the 12th fret on our 2nd string. So little finger is on the 12th fret of the 2nd string. Then we've got our 1st finger, which is going to be on the 1st string on the 10th fret. So 1st finger, 1st string on the 10th fret. So that's the shape for the first chord, which is a D6. And now the 2nd chord, this is called a D add 9. And so what's really nice, coming from the D6, our first chord, your 3rd and 2nd fingers, they don't have to move. They're already in the correct place for the D add 9. So all we've got to do is 1st finger, that comes up by a string. So 1st finger goes up to the 2nd string, and that's going to be on the 10th fret still. Then our little finger, we just drop that down by a string. So little finger, still on the 12th fret, but that's gone down to the 1st string now. So 3rd finger, that's still on the 4th string on the 12th fret. 2nd finger, that's remained on the 3rd string on the 11th fret. And now we've got our 1st finger, and that's on the 10th fret of our 2nd string. And then our little finger, that's on the 1st string on the 12th fret. And that chord is called a D add 9. The 3rd chord, again, was quite nice. Your 2nd and 3rd fingers don't have to move. The 3rd chord is a G major 7. So all we've got to do to get from the D add 9, we can remove the little finger because we don't need that. And our 1st finger, we keep it on the 10th fret. We're going to move it up to our 5th string. So 1st finger is on the 5th string on the 10th fret. And then we just keep our 2nd and 3rd fingers in the same place. So that's the 3rd shape that we've got, G major 7. So what's nice for the 1st, 2nd and 3rd chord, so 1st chord was our D6, 2nd chord is the D9, 3rd chord, G major 7, our 2nd and 3rd fingers haven't moved. So they stay kind of locked in on the 4th and 3rd string. And so when your fingers don't move, you can call that an anchor point because they don't move. Now for the final chord, we're going to have a change in position, so we need to slide our hand back, and we're going to do a bar chord. So we're going to get our 1st finger, and we're going to bar that across our 7th fret. And 3rd finger, what's quite nice, that's remained on the 4th string, but we've slid it back to our 9th fret. So what's nice is when we do that change, coming from the G major 7, 3rd finger, you can just slide it back on the 4th string. And so to finish off the chord, which is called an E sus2, we've got 1st finger barring on the 7th fret, 3rd finger is on the 4th string, and that's on our 9th fret. And now we just get our little finger and we tuck it underneath the 3rd finger. So little finger is on the 9th fret on the 3rd string, and then our 1st finger's barring across our 1st and 2nd strings. And that chord's an E sus2. So those are the 4 chords. So that's our D6, which is our 1st chord. D add 9 is our 2nd chord. G major 7 is our 3rd chord. And then E sus2, that's our 4th chord. So those are the 4 shapes that we'll be using throughout the whole of the song. So what changes between the different parts or the different sections is the right hand finger picking pattern. I'll play the first section and I'll play at a nice relaxed speed, and then I'll go over the right hand picking pattern. So with our right hand, we have our thumb, our index finger, middle finger, and then our ring finger, or thumb, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or classical guitarists, you'll know this is P-I-M-A. Whichever works for you, just stick with that. So at the beginning, what we're going to do, I like to line up my thumb, index, middle, and ring finger. I like to line them up on the strings that I'm about to play. So our thumb is on the 4th string, index fingers on the 3rd string, middle fingers on the 2nd string, and our ring fingers on the 1st string. And so to start off with, we just pick our thumb, index, middle, and ring in order. So we go thumb, index, middle, ring. We're going to get our ring finger and we're going to pick the 1st string again. And now with our left hand, we're going to pull off the 1st finger to an open string. So from the beginning, we've got the thumb and the 3 fingers lined up. And we do the pull off. And now with the right hand, we're going to pick the middle finger again, and then the index finger. So we can split this up into little sections. So we could call this the first part. And that's really the first bar, and then even the first 2 beats of the 2nd bar. Then the next part is where we have the pull off on the 1st string. And then we go middle finger, index finger. And then bar 3, this is where our left hand's going to change to the 2nd chord. And so what we're going to do, we remove the little finger, and our 1st finger, we just move that up by a string. So 1st finger's now on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. And we don't want to put the little finger on, not quite yet, because we end up playing a harmonic. So little finger, we keep that hovering. With the right hand, to start off bar 3, we go thumb, index finger, middle finger. And now with the little finger, a harmonic is where you just lightly touch the string. So we're going to be touching the 1st string. And you want to try and line it up with the actual fret, the actual metal part of the fret there. And just slightly touch it. You get a really nice kind of softer tone as opposed to kind of playing the actual note. Almost sounds like a bell kind of ringing. That's what we've got for the third bar. So we've changed to the second chord shape, but we're keeping the little finger off. We do a little harmonic at the end there. And then we just repeat that for bar 4. So that's the first 4 bars. So if I just play that from the beginning, we've got the first shape. Now that brings us to the 5th bar, and this is where our third chord shape comes in. So that's where our first finger, we're just going to move that up to the 5th string on the 10th fret. And now with our right hand, we need to just shift the position up. So now that our thumb is going to be on the 5th string, and now our index finger has come up to the 4th string, and our middle finger is on the 3rd string. And we just play them in order again. Thumb, index, middle. And then we repeat it. So that's what we've got for bars 5 and 6. And now for the last 2 bars, we're going to change to our 4th chord. So this is where the E sus2 is coming in. So we're barring with our first finger on the 7th fret, 3rd finger is going to be on our 9th fret on the 4th string, and our little finger is tucked just underneath that, and that's on the 3rd string, 9th fret. And now this is where, with the right hand, our fingers, we want to lower them back down. So now that we've lined them back up on the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. And what we're going to do with our thumb, we're going to keep that up on the 5th string. So now with the right hand, we're going to go. So thumb plays the 5th string and play a rest stroke. So that just means pick the thumb and let it drop down to the 4th string. And we're going to pick the 4th string. So thumb, and thumb again, and then we go index finger, middle finger, and then our ring finger. We just keep that on and we let that final note ring out for the whole of the 8th bar. So if I play it from bar 5, we've got our 3rd shape, which is the G major 7. So that's the first part of the song. So I'll just run through the second section. I'll play it a nice relaxed chill tempo, and then we'll do the same. We'll just look at the right hand picking pattern. So again, we're going to start with the first chord, the D6. And now with our right hand, this is where there's a change in the pattern, and we're just going to be a bit more active with the right hand. So we're going to start with our thumb on the 4th string, and our middle finger is going to be on the 2nd string. And we're going to pick them two together. So thumb and middle, and then our index finger is going to come in onto the 3rd string. And then we go thumb again. So them 3 notes. Then after that, our ring finger. Ring finger comes in on the 1st string. And then we're going to go middle finger, index finger, and then thumb, and then index finger. So it's thumb and middle finger, then index finger, thumb again, now ring, then middle, index, thumb, and then index. And so this pattern I repeat quite a lot in this second section. And so now for the next two bars, we're going to change to our second chord shape, which is the D add 9. So that's where our first finger goes up a string, and then we drop the little finger down by a string. And what's nice, the right hand finger picking pattern we've just covered, we just repeat it for the second chord, our D add 9. So exactly the same right hand finger picking pattern we've got there. Let's look at the chord change from the first chord, the D6, to the D add 9. So what we have to do, we have to lift our first finger when we play the last note. So if I play bar number 10, so it's the last bar on our D6 chord, I'm lifting my first finger as my index finger of the right hand picks the last note. I'm lifting the first finger just to give it time to go up a string, and then we can start playing the second chord, the D add 9, and then we can get the little finger on, because we don't actually play that until pretty much halfway through the next bar. So instead of trying to rush to get the whole of the shape on, we can kind of take our time. And that's the nice thing with finger picking, because we're not really strumming the whole of the chord. We can almost form the chord while we're playing it. So we just have to look at what's the next note that I need to play and make sure we move a finger to cover that note, and then look at the next note and then see if we can move another finger. And so with this chord change, what we do at the end of our first chord, I'm lifting when I pick the last note, so now that gives the first finger time to go up. As I put it on, I just remove the little finger. I'm not going to try and put the little finger on just yet, because that will probably take a bit more time and it might throw me out of time as well. So we always want to try and play nice and smooth and nice and in time. So I'm lifting the first finger as I pick the last note. I drop it on and remove the little finger with the left hand. Now I can start the next bar, and now I can get my little finger on. So we can really take our time to get the little finger on. Lift, little finger off, and now we can put it on. Lift, little finger. Now for the next two bars, we're going to change to our G major 7. So that's where our little finger can come off because we don't need it. And our first finger, we just move it up to our 5th string. So first finger's now on the 5th string on the 10th fret. And again, our second and third fingers, they've just stayed in place from the very first chord. So now this is where the right hand pattern is going to change. So what we're going to do now, our thumb is going to move up to the 5th string, but we're going to keep our first and second fingers allocated to the same string as they've been on so far. So our index finger is still on the 3rd string, and our middle finger is still on the 2nd string. And so what we're going to do now, thumb is on the 5th string, middle finger's on the 2nd string. We're going to pick them together. Then we go index finger. Now we're going to drop our thumb down to the 4th string. So our thumb is going to alternate between the 5th and 4th string. Then after that we pick our index finger again. So that's the first 2 beats, so thumb and middle, and thumb's on the 5th string. Then we pick our index finger, then thumb drops down to the 4th string, then index finger again. And what's nice, that pattern, we just repeat it, and then that's the whole of the bar on the G major 7. I just want us to look at the chord change coming from our D add 9, changing to our G major 7. So what we have to do to give our first finger a little bit of time to do that move as it goes up, we're going to have to lift the first finger off towards the end of the bar with the D add 9. So I'll just play the last bar of the D add 9. Now, as I'm about to pick my index finger, which is on the 3rd string, I'm lifting my first finger with my left hand, just so I can give it time to then go up to the G major 7, which is the chord that follows it. So whenever we've got chord changes, a lot of the times if you keep the whole of the shape on, and then you need to quickly jump a finger up to change to a new chord, then it might always be a bit clunky and it might be tricky to keep it in time. And so the nice thing with finger picking is we don't have to keep the whole of the chord on for the whole of the time, because what's nice, that first finger, we pick that's going to be on beat 3, and then we don't actually pick it again with our left hand there. So what's nice is we can lift it and it doesn't actually affect the sound. So we just need to try and lift that first finger with the left hand as we pick the last note of the bar. Lift, and then it goes up. But what we're going to do at the end of bar 14, we're not going to pick our index finger again, because we need to give our left hand a little bit of time to change to our E sus2. Okay, so let's look at the last chord, which is our E sus2. So I'm just going to play these last 2 bars of this section nice and slowly, just so you can see the right hand picking pattern. So a slight variation in the right hand. So it starts the same as we just played on the G major 7. So our thumb's on the 5th string, middle finger is going to be on the 2nd string, and we pick them together. Then index finger is on our 3rd string and we give that a pick, and then we drop the thumb down to the 4th string. And now this is the variation. Our ring finger is going to come in and pick our 1st string. So then first 2 beats. And now after that we're going to go middle finger, which is on the 2nd string, index finger, thumb on the 4th string, and then index finger. So this is now going back to kind of that first pattern we played on the first 2 chords, the D6 and the D add 9. And then to finish it off, we pretty much play the first 2 beats again, and then we just let the last note ring out for the rest of the bar. So we've got our thumb back up on the 5th string, and our middle fingers on the 2nd string, pick them together, and it's going to be index finger, thumb drops down to the 4th string, and then ring finger on our 1st string. So that last bar will go. so the two bars together. And that's the second section. So the final part, this is, we could call it the bridge section of the song. And all I've done, we use the same 4 chords and we just kind of play them and let them ring out for 2 bars each. So we go back to our first chord, the D6, and we can do like a quick arpeggio. So I'm lining up my thumb and the 3 fingers. I'm quickly just going thumb, index, middle, ring finger. So that was the 2 bars. Then we change to the second chord, the D add 9. And again, we do the same with the right hand and we let that ring out for 2 bars. And now the G major 7. So first finger jumps up and our right hand just moves up by a string as well. So our thumb is going to be on the 5th string now, index is on the 4th string, and our middle finger's on the 3rd string. We do the same, we do a quick arpeggio, and we let that ring out for 2 bars. And then we go to our last chord, and we can do the same. We can do an arpeggio with the right hand. So that's the 3 parts of the song. So as you can see, it's really just 4 chords, and I just came up with a couple different right hand picking patterns, and that's it really. So what I would suggest to begin with is just try and get familiar with the chord shapes, and then even just practice in the left hand, putting it in the first shape, change to the second shape, third shape, and then the last shape, so that you can become really confident with the left hand and where the fingers are going. And the more you practice just the 4 shapes, you'll start to build up muscle memory for the 4 chords, and that's when you'll start to feel the left hand can flow a bit better, and it starts to move smoother and smoother. And then with the second section, I would practice both the hands separately. So it's quite nice to do this with any song you're learning really. So left hand, as I just said, get really familiar with the chord shapes. And then with the right hand, you might just practice the right hand pattern on its own. So you could just do it on open strings, so we don't have to think about the left hand, and we can just focus more on the right hand. So with the right hand, for the beginning of the second section, just play the right hand pattern. You can do it on open strings and just repeat it. So rhythm wise, everything is a quaver. So as long as we keep it nice and even, you'll be playing the correct rhythm. And what's nice with that right hand pattern is the same for the second chord. And then just do the same for the other right hand picking pattern. So you'll probably just take it 2 bars at a time and loop that over and over, just so you can get the right hand really familiar. And then once you've done that, then it's trying to link up the chord changes. So as we saw in the second section, a lot of the times it's making sure we lift our first finger when we play the last note of the chord, just so we can give that finger a little bit of time for where it needs to go for the next chord. Even with the left hand, if you just practice the movement on its own. So you could put your left hand in the first chord shape, lift the first finger off, move it up a string, remove the little finger, and then with the little finger we don't have to rush, and then we can put it on. So just practicing that motion of lifting the first finger up, little finger off, and then we drop the little finger down. That will be really good practice to help get the left hand nice and familiar with the chord changes. And then practice all the chord changes the same way. You know, practice the motion with the left hand on its own. And then that will just help you to become more and more familiar and confident with the motion that we have to do with our left hand. And again, always take this really nice and chill, nice and calm, nice and relaxed. Try not to be worried or too fussed about the speed. Speed's always the last thing that we tend to work on. It's much more important to take it nice and relaxed, get really confident with the picking pattern with the right hand, really familiar with the shapes with the left hand. And so once you've done that, then I would practice it with a metronome. Set it at a really nice relaxed tempo, and really it doesn't matter about the speed you start at. Take it really nice and chill and make sure it's nice and in time. That's the first thing. Nice and in time, nice and accurate with the left and right hand. And then gradually increase the speed. And then before you know it, you'll be playing it at the original tempo of the song. I've made a tab for the song. You can find that in the description down below. It's a free download, check it out. And yeah, I hope this helps and have fun with the song. Thank you.